Yeah, how's it going, everyone? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I'm AMS, and today I bring you guys 5 new Shonen Jump mangas. Now, normally I try to keep this type of video to 4 new mangas, but 2 of them came out at the exact same time, and I believe Jump Plus released 1 more during that time span, so within 1 week, 3 new mangas dropped at the exact same time. And I just wanted to quickly get this out the way. These were probably some of the most disappointing series I have covered since I started doing this. Now, the main reason I might find these series so disappointing is because it comes on the precipice of some of my favorite mangas getting cancelled. More specifically, Martial Arts Master Asumi. Like, I understand it was a slower paced series, some people weren't as into it, some people lost interest, so its rating started going down, but to cancel it in the middle of a major arc where our protagonist was finally starting to get some development, and then they just cut it right then and there. I was just so annoyed. And then for these series to come and have replaced it, it's just like, what is going on here? Like, genuinely, these series compared to Martial Arts Master are not good. Some of them are literally a copy and paste of other series. Like, it's genuinely a, hey, let me copy your homework. Sure, just change it up a little bit so it's not obvious that it's a copy and paste. And you look at it and it's the exact same thing. Like, it's so obvious. Again, this might just be a little bit of some personal bias mixed in there because the series I like got canceled and these replaced it. But I'll let you guys decide once I start getting into the series. As per usual, I'm going to start with the series with the least amount of chapters, then finish off with the one with the most, because the one with the most, I'm going to have more to talk about. There are going to be some minor spoilers, but nothing too major. And now the first series I wanted to talk about is Dear Anemone. I think I'm saying that right. Anemone is a type of flower. And this series is one of the copy and pasted series I mentioned. I'll get more into it when I start talking about the plot, but first I want to talk about the writer, Rin Matsui. Now, he's not that big of a mangaka, with this being his first publication, but he has written several one-shots. I don't think any of them have been like nominated or even received honorable mentions in any newcomer contests. But he does seem to know what he's doing. He has really good artwork. I just think he's struggling in the writing department. I'm sorry to say this. It's just, once again, this series is a clear copy and paste. Anyways, the story follows a guy by the name of Gaku Hachiyu as he takes a job with the military to enter the Galapagos Island, which after an explosion had some sort of mass evolution occur, where the rare and endangered species on that island underwent a massive and sudden evolution, turning them into giant horrendous monsters. Now, there's a lot more sketchy stuff going on in the background, like the military trying to get to the lab. They sent a team in, a team gets wiped out. They send this second team in, and the second team is just a bunch of troublemakers who are either really in debt, have no business being a part of the military. They're just problematic people. And the only reason these people join this expedition is because they're paying a lot of money. And it's obvious that the military sent them in just because they're expendable. Their main goal is to try to get to the lab, and they're probably sending in these guys just to sort of get a layout of the environment to send in a true team after them. But anyways, when they get to the island, they run into monstrous creatures which just easily do away with whomever they managed to get their hands on. Now, the protagonist, the reason he even joined this expedition in the first place was to better himself, apparently. He wants to become a better person. And as a result, in a situation where one of his team members is about to get killed, he rushed in to try to save him instead of running away because he wants to be a better person. He doesn't want to be a coward. He doesn't want to run and hide. And he ends up saying one of the cheesiest dialogue I've ever heard. He says that it's not the strongest or most intelligent creature who survives, is the one who is capable to adapt, which is like, yes, I guess that is accurate. The one who adapts to their environment the best is the one that usually survives. But this dude just runs into a monster that's 10 times stronger than him, twice his size, a lot faster than him, and he expects to just suddenly evolve and adapt and survive. He so happens to miraculously bleed onto a flower, which is like a parasite, which then enters his body to live and then just kills the monster. And so we have a plant monster attached to him on an island that was once considered a paradise, but now is considered hell. Does any of this sound familiar? Just give us some edgy, cool protagonists, and it's literally Hell's Paradise. It's a copy and paste of Hell's Paradise. They even mention on multiple occasions that the island is a paradise, but also hell. I don't know if it's a translational thing, but the fact is they're literally stating this is Hell's Paradise, especially with a plant demon attaching itself to the protagonist. And in Hell's Paradise, the people can be turned into plants by plant monster things. It's like, Come on, you could have done something way more original than that. But I get it, Hell's Paradise was a success. Shonen Jump is trying to find a successor to their most successful mangas right now, because a lot of them are ending either this year or before the end of next year. So they're starting to literally throw copy-pasted material into their mangas. Which is like, fine, I understand that concept, but can you please at least give us something entertaining? I found this series to be incredibly boring and cliche, and the protagonist is so annoying. It's not even like the goody two-shoes thing that's bothering me, which, by the way, these 5 mangas made me realize something. A lot of mangas nowadays are giving us a goody two-shoes protagonist whom just sacrifices a lot of things to do the right thing, which is I found to be incredibly annoying. It's one of the reasons why I wasn't into Newest Exorcist as much, because of the goody two-shoes protagonist, and it seems like they're doing this a lot lately. I get it, they want to send a positive message to the youth, but what happened to the cool protagonist? What happened to the Ichigos? What happened to the OG Naruto, whom would pull pranks to get people's attention? And despite him being a troublemaker, he just wants people to notice him. Where are all the Luffys who are selfish, no good people, whom easily befriend others, and if you mess with their friends, they're going to kick your ass so badly that you'll never want to face them again? Like, where are these type of protagonists? Anyways, enough with the rant. I just personally did not enjoy this series. The artwork is nice, but in certain situations, it was so hard to tell whom was talking, which character is on the screen right now. Like, there was literally one scene where a guy was yelling at a superior officer, and then we see that exact same guy talking to the protagonist saying, "Oh no, there he goes again." I'm not sure if they were twins with the exact same piercings and hairstyle, but it was just weird. I kind of wish the author differentiated some of the characters a little more instead of making them all look like the same person with just different hairstyles. I don't know, that might have just been me not being able to tell the characters apart, but I don't know, it was just very difficult to tell whom was talking in the moment. Enough roasting this series, let's move on to the next one. Next up will be the one from Manga Plus, Astro Baby. This one was a little bit better. It follows a boy named Billy, who's growing up in a town called Northup, which is infected by a disease called Cooper 29, which turns people into cannibals. Now, this place has been isolated, and Billy's childhood crush, a professor researching the disease, is within the city. So he takes a job with the military to get enlisted in his hometown in order to be with her. But unfortunately, a meteor hits, causing Cooper 29 to spread even more, and the researcher whom he loves gets the disease, whom she then transfers it to her unborn baby. Now, Billy's trying to protect this baby, whom also has Cooper 29 disease, which we actually learn is an alien parasite which possesses the people it infects, and this parasite seems to be some sort of superior strand which allows it to use its own cells to manipulate, control other parasites, while its mother, whom Billy has a crush on, was fully controlled by the parasite and became a cannibal. And now Billy has to protect his baby from the military, whom are hunting people who may have been infected with Cooper 29, because they have no way of proving whether they're infected or not, and they don't want to risk these people eating innocent civilians. And if that wasn't bad enough, he also has to protect his baby from other parasites, because the parasites in them know exactly what type of parasite is in this baby. The baby itself is unaware because it lost its memory after crashing with the meteor, but the other parasites fear this baby and they want to eliminate it. Now, this series is written by Shiro Moriya, whom has only written one other manga from what I can tell called Soulless in a Cage. It only has 3 volumes, but apparently people really enjoyed it at first, but due to the declining health of the author, it had to end early. At least according to my research. It may have been canceled because typically 3 volumes is all a series gets, but I couldn't tell by my research. From what I've seen, it looks like this series ended because the author wanted it to end. It's not because it got canceled. But anyways, this writer has some experience writing a popular manga, so we'll see how this one goes. This is actually a really entertaining series with some really good artwork and a compelling story which actually you want to follow. It's not like the previous one where you get bored right away and lose all interest because there's a clear copy and paste format. With this one, there isn't an exact copy and paste, but there is some resemblance to other series like Parasite, for example, because the baby can spread its cells into other people, thus possessing them and enhancing their physical capabilities. Similarly to how Parasite, the protagonist has a parasite within his arm, which could enhance his physical capabilities, as well as communicate with him. Just like how this series, the baby can communicate with Billy, as well as possess him in order to help him fight. But unlike Dear Anemone, this one is not an obvious copy copy and paste. There are distinct differences, there's a more compelling story, and it's far more entertaining. Now moving on to the next series, Super Psychic Policeman Chojo. It's written by Shunuma, whom has written several one-shots, but nothing that's been acclaimed. Now, Super Psychic Policeman Chojo follows a psychic policeman named Chojo, whom gets a new partner, the protagonist of the series, now Impongi, whom is a judo master. Now, it follows their wacky adventure in the city Shinjuku, where they just deal with random, bizarre requests for policemen. Now, in this world, psychics are well known, their existence is known. Everyone knows Chojo is a psychic, and because he's sort of in this lowly police department, he kind of has a bad reputation. Or it could be he's in this police department because of his bad reputation. Anyways, there's a bunch of rumors about him just being a crappy person, reading your mind without permission, and being an overall creep. But then we sort of learn that he kind of reads people's minds in order to like help prevent future tragedies. And as we learn, his douchebaggy nature is just, it is a part of him, but it's also kind of like a mask he uses to protect himself and push people away. But throughout the series, we see him open up every now and then, but for the most part, he's just a douchey adult whom acts like a child every now and then. So this series is goofy and serious both at the same time, but the goofiness far outweighs the seriousness. It's a full-blown comedy. It kind of reminds me of Gintama in a sense, with the douchey protagonist just having like serious moments every now and then. This series is not on Gintama's level in terms of comedy, so I don't see this series lasting that long, especially with the way Shonen Jump has just been like pumping out new series and canceling them at the same time. I mean, who knows? When this story starts getting super serious, it might be just as good as Gintama and develop a cult following, which I would love if that happens. But seeing how strict Shonen Jump is being with the early parts of their manga, if this series doesn't develop a cult-like following within a few months, it's gonna get canned, which is super unfortunate because this series is entertaining. It's just not a super high quality manga. Next up, and probably one of the two series that I didn't find to be a total disappointment, Shadow Eliminators. It's written by Kento Amemiya, whom has only written one other series, and that was a one-shot. But I don't think that's big of an issue because he's been doing a really good job with Shadow Eliminators so far. It follows a boy by the name of Yayoi Asakaze, whom is super strict about following the rules, which ultimately resulted with him earning a sort of negative reputation with the rest of the student body. But then he meets another crazy wacky boy named Aoba Kuromori, whom is a really kind-hearted person and is also a sort of exorcist per se. In this series, they refer to them as Eliminators. And now this series follows both of them as they go around defeating these shadows which take root in people's hearts, causing massive demons to appear called Kasane. Now Kasane feed off of people's negative emotions until they grow more powerful. And Aoba Kuromori is, it doesn't say it right away, but it's very obvious that he is also possessed by a Kasane, but he seems to be able to have control over it. And then he uses his Kasane to slay other Kasanes, which are possessing people. And now this series resembles Nui's Exorcist, but it does its own kind of thing, where the protagonist isn't a total wuss. He quickly jumps in to save people because he himself has experienced loss due to his inadequacy. And then we also have the other protagonist, Yayoi, whom is a stickler for the rules because his grandfather was a policeman, and despite him trying to help people and uphold justice, he himself didn't view himself as a hero. But Yayoi wants to sort of follow in his footsteps. He wants to help people in need, and because of this sort of follow the rules nature he has, he sort of became alienated, similarly to Aoba, whom due to his supernatural abilities also sort of became alienated. And so they develop a very good friendship as they work together to save people from these shadows. Now the only downside I have about this series are kind of the protagonists themselves. It's not like a super negative thing where they're super annoying and their goody two-shoes nature get on my nerves like with Nui's Exorcist. It's not that bad, but it's sort of like, is every manga coming out nowadays having a goody two-shoes protagonist? It's okay to have a selfish protagonist who look out for their own self-interest and then have them be super strong, and instead of being like, I'm a person who will risk my life to save others. It would be much better if it was like, I'm not a nice guy, but I have this power, I could save them, and choosing between not saving them and saving them, I'd rather just pick saving them and have a clean conscience at the end of the day. Because honestly, I kind of see that as more relatable than I have to do the right thing because it's the right thing. I'm not just gonna abandon someone in need, because honestly, I don't see that as being realistic. Because as idealistic as it would be for everyone to be like that, it's more likely that people are going to choose themselves over others. If there's too much risk, they're probably not going to take action. However, if they have the capability to do so and get away scot-free, then they might do it. But typically people don't go out of their way to save complete strangers. Maybe close friends and family, yes. But strangers, it's very unlikely, especially in situations where it hinders their main goal, which is to save a whole bunch of people, which is why I also pick on Nua's Exorcist so much. Like, the protagonist is like the idealistic type of person whom endangers his group by focusing on the individual, which is, you know what, it's fine to have a protagonist who wants to save everyone, but try to keep it as realistic as possible. It's better to develop a protagonist after they've learned that they can't save everyone, and them choosing to try to ends up having some major consequences. Like, you could do something like that, like their good nature ends up hindering them, and they suddenly have to deal with this existential crisis where it's like, I want to save everyone, but I know I can't, and it's killing me that I can't. You know, something like what Jujutsu Kaisen does, or maybe something like Demon Slayer, especially with the most recent season. You know, something along those lines. And it becomes even better when you put the protagonist in a situation where they have to make a crucial decision that their good nature will not allow them to make. Okay, enough ranting. My final thoughts on Shadow Eliminator: it's a good series. It has its ups and downs. It's probably not going to last long in this current Shonen Jump environment, but for the time being, it'll be a good 3-volume series to enjoy. And now, finally, to the last series on this list, Green, Green, Greens. It's written by Kento Terasaka, whom had written several one-shots, has one other series that's been published but only for a few volumes, and then worked as an assistant for Kuroko's Basketball, which, if you guys don't know, is one of my favorite sports mangas. So the fact that this person worked as an assistant on it is already increasing my expectations for this series. And now this series follows Haku Yasaki, whom is just a high school student who doesn't really have anything going for him. He's bored with life, he doesn't really know what he wants to do, and then he learns that one of his classmates, Shiko Oga, is aspiring to be a pro golfer. And then there ends up being a situation where he ends up going to the golf range she works at, and then notices her swinging a golf club, and then realizes he kind of wants to try this for himself. And as he starts getting into it, he starts getting more motivated to try harder and get better at golf. Now, it's a simple series, but there's a clear direction. The story is going to follow Haku as he slowly improves in golf, as he pursues this as his ultimate end goal. Similarly to Oga, whom wants to become a pro golfer, he's gonna slowly follow her to reach the top. Now, the story, I will admit, it's really good. Surprisingly enough, I'm not that into golf, but watching someone work towards a new dream that they just discovered is a motivating story. But I kind of thought the same thing about martial arts master Asumi, and, well, as I stated earlier, that didn't last. So despite me having high expectations for this series, I don't think it's going to stick for very long. It's probably going to get cancelled, along with the rest of these series, excluding Astro Baby, which is a Jump Plus manga, so those don't have the super strict requirements of gathering a following within the first 3 volumes. Well, technically 2, and then the 3rd volume ends up being their last. So Astro Baby doesn't have to worry about that, while these other 4 do. And I genuinely don't see any of them developing a massive following that will keep them around for a long period of time. My 2 hopefuls are Shadow Eliminator and Green Green Greens. It's just, I don't expect anything to happen. I really don't, especially after some of my favorite series got canceled, like Tenmaku Cinema and Martial Arts Master Asumi. I don't have high expectations anymore. And with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next one, and remember to keep having fun. See ya!